me of the reviewing officer. The special guest of honor and reviewing officer for today's historic occasion, His Excellency.
Oh, that's a hard tumble. We hope he makes a full recovery. His handlers must learn a thing or two from this. All the time he's had tumbles or missteps in the past, even during the campaigns. One thing has been constant. He's always on Agbada. So anytime he's going to climb somewhere, any step, any high elevation, they must make sure he's not wearing Agbada, because that will increase the chances of tumbling. Or maybe they'll make sure that someone is kind of wrapping it around his waist so that there will not be a risk of his stepping on it. Because if he steps on it, that's catastrophic. The other foot will just come and step and he will just roll over. So they should learn a thing or two from this. No one actually hates Tinubu. Most people are just transferring the frustration coming from his policies. When they vent their frustrations, they can refer to Nigerian leaders as criminals, as looters, as anything. It's just the frustration. If the country is working, no one will have time to even be looking at governance, what is going on, whether they are looting or not. Nigerians are very simple-minded people. They don't hold grudges for anyone. If something happens here, they will just move over. That's the end of it. So politicians must make sure they serve the people. Today we are celebrating June 12. It has become Democracy Day. In June 12, 1993, Nigeria held the most free and fair presidential election in Nigeria's history. No technology was involved in that election. They didn't use any equipment. Everything was done manually. People just lined up behind their candidate. If you come to the polling unit, you will see a poster of the candidate contesting for the presidential election. All people needed to do was to line up behind that poster, and a polling unit officer will just come out and start counting everyone lined up. After counting everyone, they will just record the number of the people supporting that candidate. Abiola won that election in a landslide. He even won the state of his opponent, Tufa. He won many states in the southeast, all the states in the southwest, in the middle belt, everywhere. By the time the military regime led by Ibrahim Babangida annulled the election, Abiola had already scored more than 4.5 million votes. Despite all the threats from the military to the then Electoral Commission chairman, Humphrey Nwosu, he kept on announcing and releasing the results. So compare the then chairman of the Electoral Commission in 1993, all that he achieved with the commission despite not using any sort of technology to conduct the election. Compare that to the present chairman, who had more than 300 billion naira that was budgeted to conduct the presidential election in 2023. They spent millions of dollars on equipment to digitize and make the election free and fair. Imagine 30 years ago what Nigeria achieved without technology, conducted the most freest and fairest election in Nigeria's history. The present INEC chairman couldn't achieve it with a massive budget of millions of dollars and digital equipment.
You are now being disruptive.
I am not disrupting. The electoral act says that what is uploaded
you are now being disruptive.
You can bundle me out, but the right thing must be done. I'm a party agent.
You are now being
says.
disruptive.
Instead of surpassing the record Nigeria set 30 years ago, he couldn't match the record, neither could he surpass it. Instead, he fell below standard. The election was worse than the one conducted 30 years ago, despite having a humongous budget that is more than what South Africa budgeted for their election that was held last week. So you have seen how far we've sunk and regressed. Many countries actually transitioned from third world country to first world country within a period of 30 years or maybe 40 years. Look at the story of Singapore. Look at the story of South Korea. These were countries Nigeria was ranked ahead in 1960. So we've sunk so low, and Nigerian leaders have been wasting our time. Imagine wasting 30 years of your life. Imagine wasting 30 years of your youthful life that you should have used to better yourself, like getting out of school, getting a job, working hard, getting married, having a family. By the time you leave university, maybe between 20 to 25 years, Add 30 years to that. By that time, you must have gotten your own home, your own family. Maybe your kids are about to leave university. Imagine all that time wasted. That is exactly what is happening in Nigeria. A man that was 20 years in 1993 and today he's 51 years, he looks back, he has not achieved anything, he doesn't have his own home, neither does he have a family or even kids, and he looks at his mates and colleagues in other countries, they've achieved all these and talking about retirement. That is what is happening in Nigeria. So this June 12th Democracy Day celebration calls for deep reflection. Is our democracy working the way it's supposed to work? What are we going to do going forward to catch up all the lost years in our democracy life? We have a very long way to go to regain our democratically guaranteed human rights. Today, people are afraid to protest. In 1993, people weren't afraid to protest despite the fact that we were under a military regime. The kind of protest that happened after the annulment of June 12 presidential election, maybe it can only be comparable to Ali Must Go protests and Occupy Nigeria protests under the Goodluck Jonathan administration. Today, look at the people protesting the current hardship and high cost of living in Nigeria. Earlier today, one of the organizers of the protest was arrested by the police. For doing what exactly? For organizing a protest that is supposed to be guaranteed right under a democracy. So you can see it's not about mounting podiums and making broadcasts. What are we doing to at least take Nigeria back to the level we were 31 years ago in 1993? What are we doing to make sure that our human rights are restored? What are we doing to make sure that all the intimidation and barbarity from security agents on civilian populace should be stopped? We are no longer in a military regime. But sometimes you ask, is the military sharing power with civilians? What is going on? How can the military be taking over operations of the police? The military is involved in fighting insurgency and bandits. They are involved in civilian cases. The other time, a 13-year-old boy was tortured by a military officer. So what is happening in Nigeria right now? And no one, especially all the people that are responsible, that should call the military boys to order, they are not doing anything. Are they afraid of them? Silence is complicity. If they are not calling them to order, that means they are part of what is happening. Even the civil servants working in the defense ministry are also experiencing this barbarity from the military personnel. What is happening in a democracy? Why are people afraid of their lives? Why are people being intimidated openly without repercussions?
It's a sad day for us because the one that led to this action is because yesterday you see the videos trending where one of our assistant director civilian was brutalized by some private soldiers in Lagos, the command secondary school in Ipaja, Lagos, and they have killed somebody already, one of our members, Comrade Richard, for some months back.
2 months ago.
And we have asked the management to react, but up to today we've not seen any action. And continuously, last month, one of our civilian staff was locked in the guard room at Jaji for 1 month, over a month now. And that is why we have agreed in the union that all the civilian personnel should withdraw all our services in all the Ministry of Defense formations, everywhere from the headquarters to all the CPUs. Nationwide, we are withdrawing our services to the military.
So we can never achieve a developed society without making sure that our elections truly reflect the wishes of the people. It's very shameful that Nigeria can't conduct a free and fair election. Look at India. Despite the fact that more than 600 million people voted in their election, electoral officers went into interior areas in the Himalayas, places that are practically uninhabitable. They still went there and people voted. There were no paper ballots. It was all electronic voting. In Nigeria, during the presidential election, polling unit officers arrived some polling units at 4 p.m. in the evening. There was no natural disaster in Nigeria at the time. It was a sunny day during the election day, but they still didn't arrive at the polling units on time. Some of them that arrived by 12 p.m. came without result sheets. All these were calculated to deprive people from voting so that they will achieve their desired result. We still have a very long way to go. No need celebrating something that we are not. Yes, we need to be reflecting on how we will get back to 30 years ago. Until we do that, we are only turning around in circles. Thanks for watching.